What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today for another weekly sports card market update. As you boys and girls are listening to this, I am roaming around the Shipshawana show in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. Hopefully see you at the show. Hopefully saw you at trade night last night. I am recording this right before I walk out the door to head to the show. Couple little channel update things first. And then we'll go ahead and dive into the weekly sports card market update. This past week was the Content Creator Fantasy Football League. Obviously, I'm not really going to dive too much into that in this video. But as part of that, an announcement that kind of slid through the radar is I have officially joined Dustin and Pump and Dump Steve as a permanent host of Off Center. So the three of us will be live every other week. Simulcast on my channel, Dustin's channel, and Bump and Dump Steve's channel. So look forward to live streaming with those boys. I've been friends with them for quite a while now. So you will be able to catch a regularly scheduled live stream on the channel every 2 weeks. Another thing, this video today is sponsored by new channel partner ComC. That's right, ComC and I have entered into a formal sponsorship agreement. So they will be the official sponsor of the weekly sports card market update moving forward, along with some other stuff peppered in. I will be doing some ComC videos that are not sponsored, some that are. I will declare which ones are and which ones aren't. But generally, if I am talking about ComC, do keep in mind that they are a paid sponsor on the channel now officially. I've done some stuff for them in the past that were one-off videos here or there, or little series of videos here and there. But we have decided to kind of partner up on something a little bit more long-term. I've been, as most of you know, I don't take sponsorships very often. I do obviously affiliate link stuff. That's one thing, but an actual formal sponsorship, I do not enter into those lightly. So I wanted to really put ComC through its paces over the last few months before officially kind of sitting down with them and signing something more formal. I've been very pleased with my experiences with them so far. Since the beginning of the year, really, is when I kind of started the ComC journey. So they will be sponsoring the Sunday video going forward. And like I said, we'll do a couple random one-offs here and there throughout the month as well. But how I've really been leveraging the platform really comes down to just moving cards that I don't want laying around the house. I have not done a lot of buy to flip on the platform. It is mostly, I open a bunch of product or just acquire stuff or whatever, things laying around that I just don't feel like dealing with. $1, $2, $3, $5 cards, $10 cards. In some cases, I just package them up and send them off to there. I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive on kind of like what my thought process is and plan for what I send and kind of how I'm leveraging that platform and kind of how it fits in the overall hobby experience for me. But that'll be its own separate thing at some point in time later. So shout out to new channel partner ComC. If you are not using them, even if you don't want to sell on platform, you can get really good deals buying on there as well. Highly encourage you to go check them out. Let's go ahead and dive into some news. We have a news-heavy video today. We'll get some charts and graphs as well, but lots and lots of news to cover. First off, not necessarily collectible news, but woke up Saturday morning to the news that Jimmy Buffett passed away. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know that I am 100% a parrot head. I have seen Jimmy Buffett perform live probably at least a dozen times over the course of my life. It has been a while since I saw him, and I kind of regret now, of course, not going the past couple years. It's probably been about 5 or 10 years since I saw him last. My wife and I went a couple times to see him, usually in Pittsburgh or Cleveland. And she had kind of become a Buffett fan once we had met as well. So sad times in the Neo household all around. This photo actually that I shared on my IG page is one that my father took. He was a photographer for the Youngstown Vindicator and Akron Beacon Journal and had the privilege of covering a Buffett concert for work one time. This was shot probably back in the 90s, if I had to imagine, that he took at Blossom Music Center. So he shared it on his social media stuff. So I figured I'd steal it, give him the photo credit. But shout out to Jimmy. I know a lot of people really do not like his music, but the ones that do, man, let me know in the comments down below. Next up, Panini news this week. We obviously had the whole $25 million buyout, or I'm sorry, settlement that they had to cut the check for on yesterday's video. The ongoing war with the NFLPA continues to rage on. They did slip this one in, and now, if anyone knows, please feel free to let me know down below. Panini signed Dylan Cruz, and you might be asking yourself, if you're not a baseball person, who Dylan Cruz is, to an autograph deal. He's essentially the next super hyped baseball prospect coming up. He's not been in a Bowman product yet. This article, news post, whatever you want to call it, press release, makes it sound like it's just this multi-year agreement. There's nothing in there that says exclusive. The reason why this would be a really big deal if he was exclusive, and like I said, I don't know 100% for sure if he is or is not. That would mean that his autograph would not be appearing in Bowman, which is a Top/Fanatics product, and that would kind of be a big deal. This guy is very, very pumped already, and that's what the Bowman guys want to chase, is our first Bowman autos of these players, and if he's not in there, that could drastically affect that product. And it would definitely impact his kind of how his cards are viewed going forward in regards to, if there's no first Bowman auto, he would potentially just have a first Bowman card. I don't know the inner workings of like the Bowman set and how all that stuff works, so I would assume he would still be able to appear there as a first Bowman card, just with not an auto, but I am not even 100% sure on that. So Panini kind of striking one back on old Top/Fanatics with this Dylan Cruz news. Potentially, once again, we kind of don't really know the specifics of this deal. They don't straight out say exclusive, which you would think if he was, they would say that, but he says join the Panini family, so we really don't know what any of that means. We'll have to, time will tell. We'll see if he pops up in a Bowman product or not. That'll tell us right away. If he is exclusive, it's a pretty big deal. If he's just has a side deal with Panini to do autos along with Top/Fanatics, then this is kind of a nothing burger, but it is something to file away in the back of your head, because he was supposed to be the featured rookie in some upcoming Bowman product. Next up, the hobby story sweeping the nation. This probably deserves its own video. It's just every time I got ready to record something on it, literally something new happened, and there will be a ton of content around this. If you are not familiar with this story, I would highly recommend checking out this Ravel article. He's kind of the one that's been on the forefront of all this. Long story short, let's see if I can capture this as best as I can, because this has a billion layers to it, and it's not sports card. It's not a sports card directly, but it is a high valued collectible item, and potentially sounds like a major player in the sports card world is wrapped up in this, and that's where it gets really, really juicy. Essentially, a game-used Jordan jersey was sold for like 20 or 30,000 bucks. After the fact, someone came forward, the new owner, well, we don't really know if it was the new owner, you can assume. The person that owned the jersey came forward and said, hey, I have photos that will match this to a NBA Finals game-used jersey, which would essentially change the value of this thing from $20,000 or $30,000 to literally millions of dollars. These photos tied back to a organization, a foundation that was in the name of the photographer that took the photos, that checked out, was a press photographer, and had photos from games during those times, et cetera, et cetera. And we go to find out that the company that did the photo match authentication maybe didn't do due diligence. The foundation that the photos came from was fabricated. It was not real. It was fake. As more and more information came out, Ravel continued to dig. This led back to the one and only card porn account. Don't really know the involvement of card porn in this. Was he the owner of the jersey? Was he just simply trying to help boost the sale? That's the part that we don't really know yet. There's a lot of unknowns in regards to that, but card porn was seen with the jersey. promoting it on his IG page. Also tried to get the photos that were used for the photo match authenticated by PSA. They could not authenticate them at the National. That's something that just came out very recently. And then overnight, he has deleted his Twitter and Instagram account, or at least deactivated them. Maybe it's just temporarily, maybe it's permanent. Once again, literally every few hours, something changes with this story. So this is the ultimate who watches the Watchmen type situation. When one of the hobby watchdogs goes rogue, then what happens? There's been a long storied history of drama with the card porn account over the last year or two. I know AIH and Dan the Cardman have done a lot. AIH specifically has done a lot kind of tracking and covering the ins and outs of the card porn story. So if you want more information on that, AIH I know has tons of videos on the card porn account, and I am sure there will be more coming from both him and Dan. I believe Dan did a live stream last night. Obviously, I haven't seen that yet because it hasn't happened yet at time of recording, but this whole thing is absolutely wild. Fake foundations, $1 million scams, just all sorts of nonsense. This whole thing could probably be a Netflix documentary / movie. Like I said, I know it's not card specific, but it is very much in the sports card world. So I am sure there is more to come on this. Ravel has kind of already teased that there is more and more coming, and he's been kind of leaking this stuff out over the course of the last few days. Other new stuff this week that I didn't necessarily pull up to specifically talk about. The Lorcana release happened. Obviously talked about that on Friday's video. Secondary market prices have been going absolutely crazy for booster boxes on that. And there was the whole PSA Beckett grading the fake Lorcana cards. Part of the problem with that is, which I found out after the fact, I guess the way Lorcana prints their cards, there's not a lot of anti-copying stuff on there. They don't really have a hologram. There's just not a lot of anti-fraud stuff built into the design of the cards. So they are very, very easy to potentially counterfeit. So just be wary of that. Hopefully they can improve on that as production ramps up going forward with future sets, that they can add some more security features built into the cards themselves. Let's get into the charts and graphs portion in our good old friends over at Market Movers. If you want to check out Market Movers, link in the description down below. You can get a few weeks for free and then 20% off for life of whatever plan you sign up for. Baseball, a lot of baseball news this week. Jason Dominguez, the alien, got called up, and boy, oh boy, to the moon, baby. Let's ride this thing. First at bat, I think it was a 2-run Oppo blast for Jason Dominguez. This guy was super hyped upon release of 2020 Bowman. This product came out right at the peak of the card craziness, and this card was super expensive. It had fallen off quite a bit over the last couple of years, and then in spring training, he had a really, really strong spring training, and there was some rumors filtering around that maybe he would break camp with the team. This card got trendy then, and then it dipped back off throughout the summer. Everyone just kind of forgot about it. And then he got called up, surprise call. Well, maybe it wasn't a surprise call up. Caught me off guard for the September call ups, and then immediately blasts a home run in his first at bat. If you bought low over the summer, when we always say, this is probably your off-road point, this is your exit point, that you could get out of some of this stuff. Because you could see this card, this is the PSA 10 first Bowman auto. Back in February, this was about a $700 or $800 card. Like I said, in the spring, you can see in March here, it got all the way back up to 1.5K. We see one here at 1.5K and a little bit in between. Cooled off as we went throughout the summer. In June, this got down all the way to around $500 or so. And now, most recently, as of 8/31, this was at 900. I expect that this card is probably even higher than that now at time of recording, because this just happened late last night. Market Movers lags behind about a day, depending on when the data processes. So sales from last night and this morning are not yet representative on this graph, but I have a feeling this card is going to spike. We will talk about this again next week, most likely. But if you have Dominguez that you're into cheap and you are looking for an off ramp, this is probably your chance. If we kind of blow this out, this card peaked right out of the gates at 3.2 So $3,000 card when PSA 10s first hit the market back in early 2021. And you could see the straight downward trend up until this little March spike. Then it dipped again, and then now we're back up again. Really, any time other than this summer, if you bought one of these cards, you were probably still in the red or just barely back to even. The time to buy would have been right here. If you bought in there, you could probably take a pretty nice profit right now. Otherwise, you were probably still in the red if you bought anywhere back in here. Even back in this range, it was still an $850, $900 card, $780 card. And it's just now getting back to those prices at 900. But like I said, this thing will probably blow through 1,000 pretty easily if it hasn't already. So Dominguez, big time in the news. Ohtani, obviously still the fallout coming from his Tommy John injury. I shouldn't say Tommy John. We're not 100% sure if he's going to have the surgery yet or just let it heal on its own. But his elbow injury. And the interesting thing is that his prices, someone mentioned this in the video last week, and they were absolutely right. His prices were already trending down as they were. You could see here, I kind of blew things out here, but they have definitely taken more of an advanced hit over the last week or so based off of this news. I just pulled up a bunch of random PSA 10s here. We have his first Bowman batting, his Topps Chrome Refractor, his Topps Chrome Pink, just a base and a Heritage base, all in PSA 10 from 2018. Not necessarily focusing on individual prices, but you could just see the general trend here. This is over the last 90 days. You could see the rise up, and then in late June, early July is kind of when it really kind of took off and peaked. And then we got right here around late July, early August, right around the National actually is when it peaked. And you could see this is the beginning of August right here, 8-3. The downward trend had already started. If we just go back 30 days on this, you could really see that downward trend on all those cards. If we go back 60 days, you could still see things are going up and then come back down. Really over the last 30, things had really tailed off. You could see 50%, 20%, 26%, 35%, 30% on a lot of these cards. And a lot of that has happened. Once again, if I shorten this up even more and you go back just 14 days, 35, 20, 30, 20. So a little bit more aggressive the last 2 weeks, but you could definitely see 2 weeks prior to that, things were already trending that direction. This has just accelerated it on the downhill path. It's going to have to find its new value. We don't really know what that is. We don't know if he's ever going to pitch again. He could, he might not. Who knows? Will he be a starter? Will he be a reliever? Will he be a closer? The guy is still an absolutely tremendous hitter, but once again, a lot of the value was baked into him doing both. So his cards are still going to be valuable. It just has to kind of reformulate to whatever it is he's going to be now. And then he has MLB free agency this coming off season as a wrench to throw into this as well. Because if he changes teams and he goes to a crazy market, that could juice his stuff back up again. And then with the unknown of what happens with him and pitching again. So that's where we are with Ohtani stuff. Just kind of doing our weekly check-in on J-Rod and Witt over the last 60 days. These guys continue to climb. J-Rod specifically has been really taking off. His stuff over the last 60 days is up 60%. I shouldn't say his stuff. His first Bowman auto is up 60%. Witt is still up 30%. So these guys from last year, once again, they both started the season kind of slow, but they have really turned it on lately, especially J-Rod, and they are seeing massive rises in their pricing. We talk about this often. A lot of times, the best time to buy some of these players is actually in the middle of the season that is ongoing. That was a trend we've seen a lot, especially if it's someone that you really believe in. Someone like J-Rod, maybe you really loved him going into the beginning of the season. His stuff was spiked from the hype of the offseason. He starts the season and is just fine. We talk about it all the time. Expectations and reality smash into each other. They do not meet. His card prices tank or slide down. There is a buying opportunity. He is still a really good player. He gets hot and the prices spike back up again. People realize, oh wait, this J-Rod guy is actually pretty good. He just had kind of a first half of the season, but he still is actually a really good player and still really young with a long runway to go. So we'll see what happens as the rest of the season closes out and then we head into the off season and next season. Wander Franco, PSA 10 first Bowman auto. A rumor is, I think I saw something floating around social media, a third person has now come forward with allegations. This card as of right now seems to be bouncing off its present bottom. I say that very loosely because it feels like any day this card could literally go to like $5. But you can see over the last 30 days, it has corrected from $800 back at the beginning of the month, got to a low of $255, and then it's kind of seemed to have leveled off here in the mid threes. You can see that $255, and then it kind of jumped back up to $350 and $340. So we have 3 sales there in that $300 to $350 mark. We'll see where it goes from here, but I want no part of any of his stuff. Let's switch over, take a very quick glance at football. I'm going to do probably a little bit of a deeper dive later this week, right before the season starts, of kind of where do we sit in regards to kind of the starting quarterback prices heading into the season. I just wanted to take a quick look at the market pulse over the last 14 days. Not a ton of movement, really. 2018 did take a little bit of a bounce up, but most of that is Josh Allen related. One of his optic hollows spiked up a little bit. That kind of surged the prices on this, but no major swings overall. And this is the 2017, 2018, 2020, and 2021 class. Like I said, we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive later this week, closer to the season, and look at a bunch of different cards, just as kind of like a measuring stick of like, where is all this stuff at to start the football season. Closing out with a little bit of NBA. I ran these from the National. I started this chart on the day the National opened up on Wednesday through today. I always like to say the National is one of the better times to buy basketball if there is a player that you really, really like. Here are just some random silver PSA 10 prisms of some pretty trendy guys over the summer so far. Pricing changes since the National. SGA PSA 10 silver up 26%. He's been getting some hype from Team USA. Anthony Edwards has been leading the hype from Team USA. He's up 45%. John Morant, remember him and all his issues. He is up slightly at 8%. Zion Williamson is up about 20%. And then the Luka Silver is up ever so slightly, 12%. That card's creeping back up towards 1.5K. So though NBA is not really getting discussed a lot right now, we are seeing tick ups in prices kind of across the board. There's a lot of other guys going up as well. Not huge amounts by any means. Not like the Edwards and the SGA jumps. But that late summer, right before the National, when all eyes are fully on football and football cards, always feels like a really good buying opportunity for basketball. I think kind of and this is very, very macro. This is not going to apply in all cases. I think generally speaking, basketball at the National, baseball around Thanksgiving, which we've talked about before on the channel. And I think football is a little bit different, but I feel like the non-playoff guys, the best time to buy is at or around the Super Bowl. So if they are completely removed from the AFC and NFC championship game, I would really look at a lot of the players like around that time of year. If there's a quarterback that you're looking to get into that's, not on a team, or you're hoping to see them switch teams but not involved in the AFC or NFC championship game, I think around the Super Bowl is a pretty good time to kind of poke around or start poking around on football. But basketball, it definitely seems like the National or around that time, late July, is a pretty good time to get into NBA. And then I've always really liked Thanksgiving for baseball. There's just a lot of eyes on everything else at that time of year. So that is all I have for you, boys and girls. Like I said, I'll be roaming around the Ship Shawana show today. Tomorrow or Tuesday, I might take tomorrow off. I have not decided yet. But the next video out, unless something crazy happens, which who knows anymore, we'll be going over the gem rate numbers from August. That deserves its own video because those numbers were absolutely massive. Huge grading month this past month. Not surprising coming off the National. So that's all I have for you, boys and girls. We will catch you on the next one. I got to drive to Indiana. Peace.